AIEThunderclese. Rook skills.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Thunderclese here, and here's my guide for Power Auras that I promised y'all. Basically what Power Auras is it displays several different things on your screen, just so you know when like different buffs are up, or when certain debuffs are on the boss, that you can go through and, so you're not having to look at your buffs up in this general area up here all the time, or your debuffs. It's all going to be, you can put it all in this centralized location. Now, WoW did implement some power auras for certain classes at one point, but none for rogues. And I think they were going to do a slice and dice one at one point, but it's never worked for me, so I don't know if it works for the rogues. I've never seen it. So I have my own. So what you want to do is you want to go and like curse.com or WoW interface and download Power Auras Classic. And once you have it installed and you're in game, you want to type /POWA, and that will bring up the Power Auras interface. Now you can see I have several here. A couple of them I'm not using. They're different spell alerts somebody sent me. The main ones I use, however, are here. The first one is my slice and dice, and I'll go through the setup for each one of these for you guys. So whenever I have slice and dice up, it has this little skull here, and it has a timer telling me how long I have until I need to refresh it. The next one I have is a Rupture. Same way, it has a timer. And see, I kind of made it so they kind of work together there. The next one is health. This is the boss's health. I use it for when the boss gets below 35%. And I need to switch my attacks from mutilate to backstab. This one I used when I was flying on a loose resort one time. Told me how long I had until my stacks fell off, until I fell, which is not one I use all that much. This is my Envenom, so I make sure that I try to keep my Envenom buff up as much as possible and try not to overlap it. So this right here tells me when it's up and when it's about to expire, so I can get ready to refresh it, or not overlap it. And if I have 5 seconds left, if I hit Envenom again, all of a sudden I have 1 second instead, I lose DPS. Next one is basically, it tells me when Tricks of the Trade is ready. Whenever that debuff, whenever that ability is ready, it pops on the screen, makes a sound. Same way with Vendetta. It'll pop on the screen for a second. And then whenever I have Cold Blood available to use, that little icon will be on the screen. And then this one, it tells me if I'm getting close to energy capping, based on my rotation and everything. Sometimes I like to get my energy up to where, right before I do an Envenom, I like to get my energy up to about 90, so that I can do an Envenom and then get off 2 good mutilates, and hopefully the poisons hit, my DPS goes up a little bit. And that'll be all something I cover in another video as far as rotations go. So let's take a look at each one of these here real quick. Okay, so let's take a look at Slice and Dice and how I have it set up. So basically, instead of just hitting Edit here, you would go to New. I'm going to go to Edit. And so we can see the editor here. And you can go through the textures here and choose basically whatever texture you want. Let me go back to the texture I had chosen. And I won't go through every detail of it every time. But you can play around with this, different textures in here. You can type your own. I have it set up, you can set it up to where, it tells you what button to push, anything like that. And then with these sliders right here, you can move it around the screen, make it bigger, if you'd like. I don't know what size I had it on. That looks about right. You can move it back and forth wherever you want to on the screen. I'll take that back to 0. And so then, this is the tricky part down here. This is where we want to, these are the things we want to set. We want to go to activation by buff, and then you want to type it exactly like it is, with the capitalizations and everything. You can do the ignore case, but I always try to type it in exactly. So slice and dice, and then you check exact name. Okay, and then if you want to copy, if you want to pause the video and copy these settings exactly, this is what you want it to say. You want it to be cast by me when you're alive. And you can also, if you want to, only when you're in combat to show it. I choose to show it all the time. Or for only if you're in a raid. And then to add the timer, we're going to go over here. We're going to click on the show button right there. And then we can, it's not showing right now, but it will, because I kind of messed it up there. The next time I go in and start my slice and dice, it'll be there. The next one we're going to look at is my Rupture, and I've had a lot of questions about this one. So let's look at it here. We're going to edit. You can see my settings up here for the position, etc. This is what people really want to know about. This is going to be a debuff. The exact name is Rupture. Cast by me on the enemy target. That's the one that's important. You want to make sure the enemy target is checked. So it checks against, does the enemy target have Rupture on it? If it's true, then it'll show the icon. And then I put a timer on it as well, right here. Click on the show. And so then that timer will tell me how long I have until I need to refresh Rupture. And rogues know we need to keep Rupture up as much as possible. Not only does it do damage, but it gives us energy back, which is very important. Okay, the next one we have here is my health. Or it's not my health, it's the enemy health. So let's go into hit real quick. And the reason I use this is I want to know when I need to switch from using mutilate to backstab. When the boss's health gets below 35%, you get energy back whenever you use backstab. And your DPS goes up, especially if you use glyph of backstab. So let's hit edit here. And you can see all my settings up here for position and what texture I'm using. Just basically something I can see. So then I'm going to go down to the activation. And this is going to be activation by health. And then I set the threshold to 35%. Make sure it's in combat. And then make sure you check enemy target. It'll check against the enemy target. If you don't check this, it's never going to activate unless your health becomes below 35%. Which you hope not. So, another thing I did is I added a sound to it. Which you can hear. This is the sound I chose. So anyway, that's the sound I chose, and it will go off. You can just choose other sounds if you'd like. There's a whole bunch of different ones. I chose that one because, I mean, why not? And there's no reason for a timer on that one. But the sound is nice, and when you're fighting trash, sometimes you'll hear it go off, and off again. If you want to choose a different sound, by all means choose a different sound. That's what I use. Next I'm going to look at is Envenom, which you can see right here. And we'll go to the edit. Go back to the activation tab. And again, once again, you can choose whatever you want to up here. It really doesn't matter. Down here below, it's activation by a buff. You want to type Envenom exactly as it is. In combat, cast by me. That's really all you need, because it's a buff that you cast on yourself. And then you want to put a timer on it to make sure that you know how long you have until it expires, so you can get ready to refresh it and maximize your DPS. The next one we're looking at is my tricks of the trade. Since I'm using the 4-piece bonus, I'd like to cast tricks of the trade every time it's available to me. Because I get a random buff, which helps my DPS. So this one's a little bit different than the last ones we looked at. Basically what I did is I used its own texture right here. So it'll use the little tricks of the trade icon. I didn't choose any of these up here. Just use its own texture, and tell it to pop up in the middle. And the activation is by action usable. So whenever tricks of the trade is usable at that point, it comes up and it pops up and tells me. And I say only do it in combat while I'm alive. Animation, you can do whatever you want to in that. And then I just had to do a sound, which sounds like this. So it does that sound once available, and then after about 2 seconds, the little icon goes away, and I know it's ready to be used again. The same exact thing with Vendetta. Let's look on Vendetta, edit, activation, under there, use on texture, action usable, Vendetta, in combat and alive. Animation, do whatever you want to there. Sound, it plays the sound here. You can do whatever you want to there. I mean, that stuff's up to you. The only thing that's important are these checkboxes down here, and make sure you name it what you want. And you don't even have to use its own texture. You could use one of these textures up here as well. Alright, let's take a look at action usable Cold Blood. Edit. This one I didn't use its own texture. I used this one. Made it have like a little cool blue sword. You know, Cold Blood, blue. Get it? Yeah. Action usable, Cold Blood, in combat, and alive. Sound. You know, a little. So there you go. And lastly, my energy. Hit edit there. Like I said, this one, it tells me, and I've kind of played around with the threshold here. And it looks a little bit different. It has the little, it won't have that green outline around it. It'll just spin the white. So I told it to use that texture. Under animation, I told it to spin clockwise and how fast. So this one's activation by rage, energy / power. I select the threshold at 70%, and I check this box, which inverts it. Otherwise, what it would do is when I'm below 70% health, or below 70% energy, it would go. But I want it to do it when I'm at 70% energy. So that way I know I'm getting close to capping my energy. I need to dump it. And tell it to use it in combat when I'm alive. There's no sound associated with it. There's no timer associated with it. But you can play around with it if you'd like. So that's basically it for power auras that I have personally. What I'll do is I will put in the description down at the bottom of the screen. I will have an export of all my power aura settings if you want to use them. And feel free to use them if you'd like, tweak them, edit them. If you have power auras you use, I know a lot of people use power auras for their combat points. I don't. I use a different add-on for that. I use Nug Combo Bar. But people use it. And really, power auras, you can do anything you want to with it. You can set it up any way you want. You can set it up for any buff on any boss or anything. You can have it set. We used it for a boss fight where when something targets you, it played a sound. So I mean, it's really versatile. You can do anything. So good luck with it. If you have questions about how I use it, or specific questions on or recommendations on other things I should try with power auras, please let me know in the comments. And as always, if you like this video, thumbs up it. Make sure you subscribe because there's more Rogue videos coming. And also hit a favorite if you like it. And until next time, guys, keep on roguing.